Testing 1, 2, 3. Alright. Bronze Age Caveman, Wrath of Inanna, Episode 3, Fried Grasshoppers and Beer. After Quinquennia Mass, the beer hall is empty except Vilam, Chal, Ball, and Wall sit at the center table. The festival crowd is huge and has filled the square and the avenues leading to it. Men and women dance and drink and smooch. Children watch with much interest. Beerer is standing at his front door watching the revelry outside with a huge grin on his face. Beerer holds a strand of phony gems above his head. Beer, loud, friendly shout towards the avenue. Let's see it all, baby. You got something for me? I tell you, I got something for you. Copyright infringement. Beer to the gang. I got some business outside. Help yourselves to the beer and grasshoppers. I'll be back in an hour. Ball. We got you covered. Wall. That mass was pretty messed up. Chal. If anybody thinks it's going to result in any good, it's Reed. I do not think he's as devoted as he sounded. It's one thing to be cavalier about death when it is a distant concept. It's quite another to have it stare you in the face so close you can smell its onion breath. Ball. These grasshoppers are pretty good. Here, try some. Wall. I feel bad for Reed, but I'm glad it's not me. Amen. Reed's father enters the beer hall. He is very wealthy. Mead. I have known you men since you were boys. I cleaned all of your asses one time or another. You never take anything seriously, do you? I heard you guys whispering with your smart-ass remarks. You don't think the clergy overheard you? You angered the gods, and more importantly, you angered Bishop. It's no wonder they selected one of you. Vilam. Come on, we are all feeling a sense of loss. He was a good friend. I was hoping he could join me on my journey to Canaan. Mead. I spoke to him in the antechamber of the temple. He is scared shitless. He does not want to die. We must figure out a way out of this and save my son. Vilam. The priest said the decision was final and there's nothing that can be done. The gods need compensation for Uruk's good fortune. Wall. Do you really think these sacrifices do any good? I mean, how much effect can they have? Ball. It'll keep Reed from knocking up any more hookers. Mead. I ought to beat the hell out of you, thwack. He slaps Ball in the back of the head. Ball. Submitting. Okay. Vilam. There are 4 questions that must be answered before I decide. What are our chances of rescuing Reed? What will Inanna do if we get away with it? What would Bishop and Priest do if we get caught, and how? Well, what would happen if the sacrifice does not take place or someone else is sacrificed in his place? Well, Vilam. The devout would say that those gods who do not receive their compensation will be angered and do the opposite of what the sacrifice is intended. Enki may allow unfettered propagation of bastard children who have no one to feed them. Nergal may steal Uruk's collective will to defend our land. Ball. I do not believe the gods have direct effect on man. I have never seen a god. Vilam. If you believe the priests and the ancients, the moon and the stars are the personification of Nana, and the earth is the personification of Ki. The list goes on forever. So according to the clergy, you see the gods every day. Ball. Sounds an awful lot like, what's the word? Bullshit. Ball. Sounds an awful lot like, what's the word? Bullshit. Vilam. I personally believe that without the gods, the clergy, Vilam looks around to see if anyone else may have come into the beer hall and could overhear. Whom we all adore. Oh, of course. Would have no explanation for storms, drought, plague, famine, love, hate, good harvest, and bad. Chal. I see cause and effect from earthly forces every day in the alchemist shop. I am convinced there are explanations that do not involve the gods, scientific explanations. We have just not figured them out yet. Mead. Maybe. Having watched these clergymen for all my 55 harvests, I have questioned the true power and effect of the gods. I've never challenged them before because I had no need. I'm not suicidal. Trade, markets, hard work, stable society, and good fortune have made my family wealthy beyond all but kings. It was easy to just go with it and thank the gods. No need to bite the hand that feeds my good fortune. But my son's life is at stake, and that changes a lot. Chal. I'm convinced the priests selected Reed before we entered the temple. I'm also convinced they actually have logical reasons for selecting him. Wall. What possible benefit could be gained from the sacrifice of a perfectly healthy, viable, talented merchant like Reed? Chal. Putting aside any doubts about the gods spiritually, Enki seeks compensation for the many little bastards you see running around. There are hundreds here in Uruk. Terrestrially, the clergy decided Reed's to blame. We know he has sloppy habits with the whores. Mead. I have to slap you, too. Chal. Face it. There are way too many bastards running around. The clergy strongly suspects Reed fathered more than his fair share. Hundreds, maybe. They used to sacrifice the bastards to the gods. This time they're going straight to the source. Make an example of him. Scare the rest of the men into tempering their behavior. Mead. I'm his father. He's just like any other boy. I'm sure he succumbs to his primal urges from time to time, but hundreds? I don't know if I should be ashamed or proud. Chal. No, the gods have nothing to do with this. This is just a warning to brothel frequenters to take precautions or they may be next. Vilam. I'm not worried about the gods either. Their influence is indirect, if anything, but the clergy in Babylon, what happens if we fail and they catch us? I mean, it could be execution, it could be banishment, it could be a simple fine. Chal. It's probably execution, burning alive, flaying, stuff like that. I'm not worried about the gods either. You all know how I feel about the gods. Silly hocus pocus, and yes, if we get caught, it's curtains. Is it even possible to rescue Reed? How would we even do it? Mead. I have lived through 11 Kenya celebrations. Temple guards tend to lose discipline. 5 years ago, every guard I ran into was wasted on beer or drugs. If they were not drinking, they were getting their dicks sucked. There has never been an escaped sacrifice. Temple guards take security for granted. We do not need to worry about them. Ball. Sounds about right. Mead. And the barracks is almost empty. All of Uruk's soldiers are who knows where fighting who knows who for who knows what. And a lot of the temple guards are up there with them. I've never seen so few temple guards. Chal. Agree. These festivals have gone on so long without a hitch. Clergy thinks they do not have to worry about dissent. After all, who wants to spoil the party? Vilam. There are a bunch of tunnels in the ziggurat. I used to play in them when I was a kid. I installed lamps there before I went in the army the first time. I used to service them. Last I looked, the rear entrance is abandoned, sealed, and unguarded. If they catch us going in there, I will tell the guards clergy gave me a new service contract. Mead. I will vouch for you. Being on the clergy council, I can make that contract an actual fact. Chal. We will need to replace Reed somehow. If he just turns up missing, clergy will go nuts and kick over every stone to find him. Mead. Who can I count on? Ball. I like our odds. We can take this whole town with our thralls and daggers. Vilam. I'm in. I need his trade contacts. I firmly believe we could take the guards if we have to. Well, what the fuck? Mead. Fine then. We have to say our obligatory farewells to Reed, then rest, eat, and wait for the cover of darkness. Then we can take a look around and see what we are up against. Mead. Whatever we do, no one, and I mean no one, can learn of this. Beer re-enters beer hall with 3 women. Beer. Why are you guys looking so serious? Horwan. Laughing. You guys planning on breaking out Reed? Mead. Shit. Hor2. Cheer up. With him gone, that's more therapy for the rest of you. Beer hands the women several coins each. They leave out the back. The Philistine, who attacked Kamal last night, Pulas, enters beer hall from the front. Pulas. Where's Hortu? Anybody see Hortu? Beer. You just missed her. Pulas. If you see her, tell her I'm looking for her. Mead. Those grasshoppers are excellent. Are there any more? Ball. Check your beard. End episode 3, Wrath of Inanna. Keep the delusion alive. I don't know if there's anything else on here. That's my motto. There we go.